Hey, you viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist, and welcome back to another round of Surrey Being Hunted with me and Phil, would you believe?
Howdy,
Yeah,
yes.
there he is. He's in the background.
Got some more Sir
Yeah,
to take a look at and
indeed.
have fun. I liked. I must say, your recent challenge that you did before, very interesting,
Oh,
cool little
yes.
one. It was I did enjoy watching that.
Good. Glad to hear that that's actually entertained you
Yeah, well, to be honest,
nicely.
most of the challenges that you've done and thought up yourself, or if you had from me or suggestion
Yeah.
reviews, have just been. I've gone back and seen some previous ones, like the supermarket sweep one. You remember that one?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one, actually. Maybe I'll do
Um,
another of those at some point. Yes.
and there's been so many different challenges that I've just found really interesting to watch again and again. Just go over them and just see what they were all about and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember when we did. Do you remember the culinary challenge?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where we went around and got all the different food related items. That was
Yeah.
quite a long time ago. That was
That
one of
was
our
a hell
very
of a
early
long time
episodes.
ago. It
Yeah.
was quite some time.
I believe that one was when I was actually sitting with you in the same room.
It probably
when you
was.
when you lived with your parents.
Yeah, when I was still living back up north and all that.
Yeah, there's
A
a
long
few of
time
those.
ago.
You can tell the difference because obviously you can hear that I'm talking remotely and now, but
Yeah.
then you can hear that I'm in the same room as you.
Indeed.
Um,
That, of course,
we
would have
have
been with the old Samsung Meteorite microphone,
Yeah.
which was a
Oh well,
decent
obviously I've
microphone.
been with you doing. Oh no, I think the only Sarah I've done with you when you've been in where you are now in Swindon was the Apprentice Part 2
Yeah,
challenge.
where you're actually here in the room
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
Obviously, there've been other ones where you've joined me remotely, but yeah, indeed. That was the only
Right.
one.
So what little topic I've got for this one, which I thought would be quite interesting. I think we've done you've done a little bit of talking about it in the past, but
Okay.
I thought it'd be interesting just to have a thought about it and see what things we can remember.
Yeah.
But it's to do with, I would say, what we can remember and our memories of our hometown.
Hometown. Okay, yeah, that's an
Yeah.
interesting one.
I know you've done a little bit of it before. I remember like the toy shop challenge where
Oh,
you
yeah.
talked a bit about your hometown then,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there've been a few where, but this one we go into a bit more depth, I feel, and
Yeah.
about our hometowns and what we feel to them, because
Indeed.
it's a nice place to be and where you're brought up.
Yeah.
Um, what can you remember from your hometown, and
Oh.
what sort of memories really
All
come
kinds
to
of
the
things,
forefront?
honestly. I mean, if I go back like to when I was very, very young, and then I think about how my hometown, where I grew up, changed a lot over time, I can still sort of vaguely remember how parts of the town's layout used to look at various times in its history, and then how those changed. Like I remember, for example, at one time in my hometown where I grew up, there was a like a textile factory in sort of not quite the centre of the town. It was just sort of a short sort of stone's throw away from where the high street was. And I can remember that. I can remember it vaguely from a few years in my youth, and then eventually that got knocked down. Just I think it was. In fact, actually, what was it replaced with? I think it was just got turned into a large car park before eventually the site of what is now Booth's supermarket there.
Oh yes, your big booze.
Yeah,
Yeah,
got
yeah.
put there,
Textile
indeed.
factory to a booze. Wow,
Yeah.
that's a bit of a change.
It was indeed, yeah.
Does that booze sell textiles?
No.
No.
Nah. Boots supermarkets has very much just concentrated on things like food, things like that. It's never done what other sort of supermarket chains do and expanded into clothing or anything.
No,
Which
no.
I can understand, but yeah.
No, I think I'm just thinking. I don't think Morrison's do clothing.
No,
I know that
they
Asda
don't.
do. Asda have got George.
Yeah, they do.
Sainsbury's have got their own. I think it's
Yeah.
TU.
They have, yeah.
And Tesco have got their own sort of clothing one. But Morrison's don't have a clothing one.
They don't
Which
indeed.
is interesting. I'm not sure if Waitrose do.
I don't know
Marks
actually.
Spencer's do. I know
Oh
that.
yeah, they
Marks
do. Yeah,
Spencer's do every.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, I remember you. I think you've talked a little bit about the textiles place, and obviously you've got that giant
Yeah.
booth which you decided to work at.
Yes.
Well,
Back in my undergraduate years, getting a job there and working in the cafe and occasionally on the shop floor as well.
yeah, I've been obviously through your hometown, and
Yeah.
when I've come over, we've gone through, and it's a nice little. It is a nice town.
Yeah.
I must say. I remember we got a nice Chinese there
Oh
once.
yes, from
We had a
the Chop
Chinese
Suey
meal.
house. Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed. Yeah, but things like that textile factory is not the only old thing that I do remember from my town, from my very young childhood, which eventually disappeared. Obviously, in the previous episode that you mentioned before, where I talked a bit about it, I'd mentioned the model train shop that used to be
Yeah,
there.
yeah, which you found very
Yeah.
disappointing when that disappeared.
Yeah, I can understand why it went though, because it's like such a niche thing to have in like a small town.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I think, you'd probably have more business opportunity with a business like that in a proper like city or a bigger town where you have more custom and more kind of exposure. I just feel like the town where I grew up is just a tiny little place where surely advertising wise it's not going to get much, especially given that this is going back to the very early 90s, which is kind of before the era of like social media and internet advertising and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not surprised really that business eventually disappeared. As disappointing as it was to see it go.
There was also the obviously we had our primary school was near there as
Oh
well.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's vastly changed as well.
It's vastly changed. Still there, but it's vastly
Yeah,
changed. Yeah, it's had
lots of new
extensions
things.
over time. Indeed.
Yeah, that's what you do with schools, don't they? They do get these extensions and things like that.
Yeah,
There's not much you can do about that. I know that my school did as well.
yeah. I can't really remember though. This isn't about primary school, but this is more about the high school I went to. I can't remember a single year of that high school where there wasn't some kind of building work or extension job going on at that high
Were they
school.
always doing that? Oh God,
Yeah,
non-stop.
because I remember my high school where I went to. When I started there in like year 7, they had the mathematics block was in this separate building that was like quite actually out from the rest of the campus, because like you had to take a path up through some woods,
Yeah.
and then it was like this old like Victorian house where they had the mathematics block. And I remember something like year 8 it was that they basically sold that building off to a private developer and started building a new modern purpose-built mathematics block that was actually on the campus itself, which was better. But there was a
Yeah.
period like in year 8, year 9, where obviously with that building going up, the actual maths teaching all had to take place in these like prefab porter cabins that were put
Oh,
down.
oh God, that would have been a bit awkward.
Yeah, it was, but hey,
Naturally.
indeed, yeah. And then of course they
Yeah.
built the music, performing arts block as well,
So they've got
which
some
was
new
good.
blocks there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can remember some things. There were some interesting things in mine sort of hometown.
yeah,
It was because there used to be so in mine there used to be a sort of like shopping little shopping
Yeah.
centre, and inside we had the centre, and there was like there was a hardware shop which I think's moved around, and we had a big there was a little co-op and WH Smith in there
yeah,
that they got rid of. It was really useful because that WH Smith was so close you could just instantly get your necessary books and everything
yeah.
as well.
Stationery supplies.
And of course, the one thing in there that you'll remember as well,
Oh yes,
cozy corner.
I know exactly. Yeah, I knew you were going to
Yeah,
mention
the
that one.
famous cozy corner. Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, we loved that. It was great. It was just basically a little cafe, but
Yeah.
they always did ginormous sandwiches.
They did
They were like
indeed.
the size of bin lids.
Yeah,
They were huge, but yeah, we used to go there quite a lot
Yeah.
to the cafe.
It was good
We
for
used to
just
like the
yeah,
cheeseburger. Yeah,
little lunch, get a nice cheeseburger or a big chip balm or something. Pretty good. And yeah, then eventually it got replaced, didn't it, by Big Boots?
yes, we got replaced by Booths as well. Would you believe? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they did a massive construction. Now it's a big Booths with some other little like card shops and things down the way. But
Yeah.
we've got Booths. But I should probably tell your viewers of the little famous story we happened at Cozy Corner.
Yes.
Um,
This one gets
So-
always gets a chuckle out of us.
Yeah.
This is going back to when we were teenagers, ladies and gentlemen. I think I know exactly what the story is before
yeah,
you
so we
tell
turned up
it.
because we decided we wanted to have for lunch, and
Yeah.
you decided that you wanted. I think you wanted to get some fish and chips.
Yeah.
From the
Something like that.
from the Cozy Corner fish and chips or something like that.
It was either
So
that
you-
or a large chip balm that I had, one or the other. Basically, it had chips. That's what
Yeah,
I
chips.
remember.
I think you had some sort of meaty and
Yeah,
some
it probably-
fish-related
probably
thing with
was,
it.
yeah.
And you decided to get that from the Cozy Corner, and I got a sandwich, and you were making your way through it, eating it, and everything, and then I just suddenly came to the realization, oh, hang on a minute, I think we're having fish and chips tonight.
Yeah,
And
so I was like,
you looked at me as though You fucking what?
You fucking what, mate?
Yeah, he
I
gave me
know.
that look. I
Yeah,
was like, you fucking what? He said, seriously, you're joking, aren't you?
yeah,
I went, I know, I think and I went, I think my mum's suggested we might be having fish and chips,
yeah.
but I'm not 100%.
Indeed.
So we finished that and we went through the day as normal. And when it came to tea time, mum was like, right, my mum, we're getting some fish and chips, guys. What do you want?
Yeah. Oh dear. I
And
know.
we
I
got some
remember.
fish and chips, and poor old you had to have another
Another
portion. And
round of them. And don't get me wrong, I do love a good fish and chips, but you know, the thing is, servings at like cafes and restaurants and from takeaways, they're always huge. They always give you so much. And so it was like one of those moments in that Christmas episode of The Vicar of Dibley where she's eaten about 3 Christmas meals in a row.
oh my God, that's
Yeah,
the best.
I know,
Yeah,
it's a
that is
funny
the best.
episode,
Yeah, and
that.
I know you were just feeling
Yeah,
horrendously full after that.
indeed, yes.
Um, that was good.
Good
So
times.
that was a good time. But that was one of the things, and yeah, I remember lots of little things because the centre of where I was a sort of pedestrianised area, very nice little area, and I love the little town.
Yeah.
I think there has been a few changes as well as there's definitely been changes to my school as well because my school's
Oh, yeah.
around there,
Aye.
and they put up blocks when I left.
Yeah.
It's just nice to see what's happened, what it was then and what it is now.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny how both of our places had areas where they got replaced by booths.
Yeah. But this was like the era of when Booths was massively expanding and building new premises all over the place.
Yeah,
And especially
because
like
we
big
had
modern
a
ones.
tidgy little one,
Yeah.
like you did when you had your annoying little tidgy one.
Yeah.
We had a little tidgy one as well.
Oh, and I can
that
remember
was-
that tidgy little Booths,
Yeah,
that
we
pokey
had
little
one as
shop.
well.
Yeah. This was, again, just before the textile factory went, the Booths was sort of just across the road opposite from it, and it was in this very pokey building.
Yeah, you said you had a very tidgy, awful little alcohol section.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, so did our little small booth.
Yeah, it was like
The
this
alcohol section was horrendous. I wonder if it's
tiny little room.
yeah, it was just like that. Without, I wonder if they could keep with the same sort of styles.
Yeah,
That's why.
probably. Indeed.
Because I mean, if you go to the booths in the one near my hometown, the booths in one in your hometown, they're always probably going to look exactly alike.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think yeah, the one in mine has got a cafe as well. Because we went into it and
We
you
did
saw one of
once.
your colleagues.
Yeah, I remember that. Indeed. But yeah, like to give you an idea of how pokey that old Booths in my hometown was before they built the new one. Basically, it was the sort of shop where the aisles were so narrow you could only get like one trolley down them at a time.
Yeah,
so
that was-
everyone
that
has to
with
go
our
in like
little
one way. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
with our little booths. Yep, I think they've just designed them the same way.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, that's that. But the thing is, like, there's loads of other stuff I can remember from back in the day when I was a young kid. Stuff that used to be in my hometown, which now isn't there anymore. Like, there was one thing, and again, this was just across the road, opposite where the textile factory was, and right pretty much next door to that old Booths. But there used to be this this row of really old stone bricked, what used to be stables, I believe, but there was like a big sort of controversy about them because some people said, oh, we should keep those in the town because it's history, because they might date back hundreds and hundreds of years. But then there was actually like a bit of debate over whether they were actually really that old, and eventually they got knocked down and replaced basically with a Subway and with a fish and chip restaurant. Indeed, yeah.
We had also an Aldi put up as well.
Yeah.
In my hometown, we had a little Aldi supermarket which was put around the corner. I can't remember what it replaced. Oh, can't remember what it replaced. But I remember we also did a little because if you go down the way a bit, there's the train station as well.
Yes, yeah.
We've got our own train station which is down the way, and it's which is good for a little small town like mine to have a train station, easy for public transport. Only 2 platforms.
Well, yeah, that's all you need, really. Funny thing is, back in, I think it was like the 60s, my hometown did technically have a train station, but then of course you had the Beeching report back in those days, which basically closed a load of small town train stations, which included
it's
the
a
one
shame
where I
that
was.
because it's good for public transportation.
It was good
to get out and about and everything.
Yeah. There's always like discussion going around about potentially like rebuilding train stations on like small, tiny little branch lines and things like that, but I don't think anything ever really comes of them.
no. I suppose that not
Indeed.
things like that happen, don't
Yeah.
they? I'm trying to think what else I had. Yeah, I think there at one point near me there was like a Texaco garage,
Yeah.
but it got converted into a little Tesco Express and a Subway,
Yeah.
which we've been to a couple of times.
Indeed, we have. Yeah.
That little Subway there.
I mean, the one big thing that usually always kind of changes whenever I, always go back up north to visit friends and family, it's always interesting because obviously, like, gaps between visits might be sort of several months, and then when I next come back up, it's always interesting to see, like new housing estates and things that have cropped up.
They like doing that, don't
Yeah.
they? Yeah,
This is
there's
a real-
housing
yeah.
estates, 'cause it takes up the land a bit too much, I feel.
I think the problem is that obviously here in the UK we have like a housing crisis. A, there's not enough housing, and B, what housing there is always like super expensive, and so there's just a massive drive to try and just build more of them, or just things like that. I mean, that's obviously one aspect of the solution to the problem, but the issue just is that there's a lot going on. There's a lot of houses going up on like greenfield sites, things like that, and God, yeah. I mean, like, the thing is, going back to my childhood days, the house that I say the house that I grew up in, the house that I spent most of my childhood in, because technically we lived in a different house before that, but the house that I spent most of my childhood in, I can remember watching all like family videos taken in the back garden of that house, and prior to the housing estate that was put up behind it, there was just fields, as far as the eye could see, and then how that changed. There's now a housing estate behind that, and there's other ones going up around the town, loads of them in fact. Yes.
They want to put more people in, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think that's going on. They just wanted to fit loads and loads of people in.
They are. The problem is that in a lot of these like greenfield sites, what they're putting up are sort of like executive homes, which are always like really expensive, and it's just like, yeah. Like,
why is everything got to be so expensive now? It's
Yeah.
just the cost of living is going up, and
It is.
that's a big crisis at the moment around
Yeah,
here.
well.
The cost of living. It's just annoying when the things.
It's the result of a lot of different things, Phil. A lot of bad decisions that have been made.
Sometimes you miss things when they change. Like I do miss that cozy corner restaurant. I do miss the W.H. Smith that was in there in the co-op, and going in there and just getting a book, to have a little read or something when you feel you want to do it, and there are various things that you do miss about that.
It is a shame about the Cozy Corner, because here's the thing, right? Cozy Corner wasn't like a fancy thing. It was just a bog standard little cafe where you could just get some really just cheap and easy comfort food, basically. But you know what? For a couple of teenagers like me and you back in the day, who just out on the town, and just we want somewhere to go and just grab a bite to eat. It's so handy and so easy. And just
they did a fantastic ham sandwich.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they did, and they were always extremely friendly in there.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
I remember them being extremely friendly.
Yeah,
which is good because it helps you build that rapport with the customers, doesn't it?
I think what it goes to show is like if you're setting up like a cafe or a restaurant, you don't necessarily need to make something that's super fancy. As long as the service is nice and the food is just wholesome enough, even if it's not particularly anything standout, sometimes that will carry you through. I
do remember it was quite. It always used to be quite busy as well. So
Yeah.
it does show you how well they were doing.
It was indeed, yeah. But it was one of those sorts of cafes where like teenagers sometimes and kids would just go if they needed somewhere to eat, or like pensioners just out on the town would drift in and just grab a cup of tea and maybe a tea cake or something. It was just one of those nice like little community hub type places, basically.
Like Boozes, because you had a lot of old people up in the cafe, didn't you?
Indeed.
They love their cafes.
They do.
I've noticed that with elderly people. They do love their cafes. They do like coming in, having a sit down, having a brew, and having a slice of cake or something.
They do indeed.
Ooh, what should I have today, John? Have you got sliced of carrot cake?
That's one of the things they love.
Slice of carrot cake.
Carrot cake or coffee cake.
Carrot cake, yes.
They loved it.
Indeed. Or a bit of cheesecake, yeah. Scones,
Ooh,
though. Scones are the very popular ones, especially if they're partnered with, tea and scone offer.
It's always one of those, and get a little bit of jam in there.
Yeah, a bit of clotted cream, yeah.
Oh, clotted cream, that's a big one, isn't
Indeed,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, they do like those, because it goes well with a cup of tea, and they can just sit there and, like, read a newspaper.
I can still remember Boo's Cafe when I worked at it. I can just remember it so well. Because there's a lot about it that just sticks out to me, like in terms of just like the menu items, the things we offered, and then when we actually brought in proper like hot food service menus, things like that. I can remember that. It was good times and all that.
Would you like your sausage and eggs? That's it. Did you offer? Did the cafe offer full English?
Oh yeah, it did.
Did do full English.
So the way it worked was back in the day. So okay, right. So when it first opened, the way it worked was we had the hot plate, and breakfast was sort of served from when it opened in the morning to about, I think it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And the idea was you go up and you had an option of having a 5-item breakfast, a 7-item breakfast, or a 9-item.
Oh my god!
So basically, you had a series of like food items laid out on the hot plate that you could choose from, like sausages, bacon, beans,
the usual,
stuff like that. So you pick and choose. And obviously, like if you had your 9-item, that was like your super huge breakfast. You could get toast with it, things like that. But then eventually, once they brought in like a proper hot sort of food service menu, and they started kind of turning it almost kind of into like a mini restaurant kind of service. They used to then offer the breakfast right throughout the day. And again, they sort of offered the choices of what you could have, and there'd be other breakfast items like bacon rolls, sausage and egg, bacon and egg, things like this.
All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it was good though, and they had like vegetarian sausage options, things like that.
Yeah,
which is how I discovered corn sausages.
Did you buy that way?
Yeah,
oh, that's
indeed.
Good to do little.
Yeah. But then at lunchtime, so from about like 11:30 till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they would take off the breakfast and they would have actual lunch meals, things like that. And I remember, they had some good recipes and things like that. They had like a sweet, I think it was like a sweet potato tagine they once did, which was really delicious.
Ooh.
Yeah,
it's good as sweet potato.
It is. Yeah,
I must say. Yeah, it's got an extra. It's quite sticky as well. Sweet potato. It's got an extra edge to it.
Goopy
I feel
lovely.
Yeah, it is.
Sweet potato and chickpeas, that's what it was. Sweet potato and chickpea tagine. A vegetarian option. It was very, very nice. But when they actually got the proper sort of menus in, they really offered quite a bit of different stuff. So, you could get like eggs Benedict with hollandaise sauce. You could get what else was there? There was like Welsh rarebit, which is basically like a really fancy cheese on toast.
Cheese on toast,
basically. Yeah.
That's all it is essentially.
They did fish and chips. They did that. They did the breakfast. They did all
lunch.
Kinds of stuff.
Oh, that's a bit of a hefty. That's a bit of a hefty lunch.
Yeah.
Fish and
some
chips.
people do.
Yeah,
some people do. If they want to treat themselves and all that.
Yeah, I can't do things like that. I don't like having hefty lunches. To my that hefty meal I like having for tea.
Yeah.
For my evening meal, I prefer having it then. I just don't understand the people who can like have fish and chips for lunch and then they have like
tea.
they cook something big for their tea. Like, how are you doing that?
Indeed, yeah. I'm for the most part like that as well. Tend to prefer something lighter. Yeah. I do, don't get me wrong. I do like sort of hot food at lunch, but nothing too heavy.
Because it's best to have it as your evening meal.
Yeah, it is. Indeed, it is.
But there are some people who do have the big meals like that. They have their fish and chips for lunch, and then they have another meal for tea, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Indeed.
Like, as we found out when we went to Germany, the Germans do that a lot.
Yeah.
They do have hefty lunches, and because I remember when we were in like the Dachau, when we stopped for lunch, there were like people coming,
there
like,
were
schnitzels, like big schnitzels, like bloody hell.
I know.
What are you doing?
Especially when
surely
it's like
doing a light tea.
Yeah. So especially when it's like middle of the day and it's quite hot, and you think to yourself, God, that's
they were having like
sweat like
schnitzels,
crazy.
And they were having like things like that. We just stuck with a tuna sandwich.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
but
they were
beat a good
like,
old tuna sandwich or whatever, tuna sarnie and all that.
They were like, they were like having like big schnitzels and big meals with potato and like.
Indeed.
And let's not forget the Germans also don't have like conventional. They don't breakfast. They don't have like cereal or something. They would have like ham and cheese rolls.
Yeah. Indeed. I mean, I don't mind actually continental style breakfast sometimes myself. Where you have like a few like thin light meats, a bit of cheese, maybe a little bit of like vegetables with it as well, a bit of fruit. That's always quite nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Sometimes sometimes do that for myself. If I just don't fancy cereal or anything, and I decide I do want to have something for breakfast, I might just dig a few things out of the fridge, and maybe a little bit of ham, a little bit of cheese, some fruit, maybe some like blueberries,
Yeah.
raspberries or something, or grapes. Indeed.
Can't be a bit of good fruit.
Nah, you can't.
You just
Indeed.
can't.
You just can't, lad. You can't indeed. There we go.
Yeah, it's nice to think of our hometowns when they were like that.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
So different.
When you could just walk in and
Yeah.
see what they were like, and then now you go to them and they're like all different. You're like, oh
Yeah.
God.
You know what it tempts me to do? It tempts me to see if I can like go on Google and see if I can like find like local history websites or something that maybe just dig out some old photos and just have a blast from the past. Because I imagine there will be plenty of old photos.
Yeah, there
from
were
back in the
no
day.
doubt.
Yeah, my hometown when it looked a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There might very well be.
Yeah,
It could look very well be. You might find something like that. Yeah, because I
Indeed.
think I'd be able to find something for my hometown and be like,
Yeah.
oh, look at that! I remember that.
Yep. But God, yeah, there's so many developments going on. I mean, like one of the big ones, if you go to like the north end of my hometown, just at the north end of the high street, there's like a whole big sort of development with these. I don't know what they're supposed to be. Like there's like this big modern building they've put up,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's supposed to be like a combination of shops and apartments or what, but last time I went there, it seemed to be, I don't know, it just seemed to be empty. Not much going on with it, but I don't know, maybe it's just not ready yet, who knows. And maybe, I don't know, I assume the way they're going to do it is have like shops on the lower floor, and then on the floors above maybe just have like apartments or something, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, that could be something, couldn't it?
indeed it could. Yes.
If there's any apartments, yeah, I don't think now there's too much going on. I think it's all sort of stopped now.
Yeah.
And there's it's staying how it is, but yeah.
Good.
But
yeah.
it's the booths is providing a lot of good service.
Yeah. Thing is, though, I mean, you'll probably remember me talking about this from years ago, back in the day. But the thing that was always kind of controversial in my town was always the suggestions that someone might put like a McDonald's or something in there. All the old people like, no, we can't have that. Mackie D's, we're not having that in this here town.
Yeah, well, they're so popular, Mackie
Yeah.
D's, so
Mackie Dooloo
if people want them, people want them. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, I think like Subway was probably the first sort of chain kind of fast foody sort of thing that really came to my hometown, and I don't know if there's any others that have cropped up there since then. I don't think there are, in fact. But,
No, well, I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, there's only a Subway in my hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only a Subway there, so there isn't much happening around there. Hometowns, yes,
Hometowns.
lovely. Now we've got different hometowns now.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, absolutely. Well, yes. They're interesting places, but it's always interesting to kind of reflect and reminisce on.
It's also good, yes.
Yeah.
Viewers, absolutely, viewers. Tell us about your hometowns. I want to know what you remember of your hometown, and have you been back? And if you have been back, what's changed?
Yeah.
What have you seen change in there? So it'd be great to see, because I know you have viewers from different parts of the world as well.
Yeah.
So they might have like
All
we can
over the
see
place, Phil.
what they think. Yeah.
Indeed.
So please tell us what you remember about your hometown and what's changed in it. That will be good to see that.
Indeed, yeah. That'll be a good topic. I think that's a good place probably to wrap this episode up on.
Yep.
On that question there. So thanks for joining me there, Phil.
We've had a fantastic little talk about hometowns there, haven't we?
Indeed.
Yes.
Okay, so the usual just outro stuff, Facebook and Twitter links down below, along with the link to my propagandist channel for anyone interested. If you enjoyed, likes always appreciated, of course. More than that, this is the two of us signing off now. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Clearly it didn't go well. Oh, jeez. Well, hello there. This is the laundry room, apparently. Yeah, we always seem to get fan service every so often, don't we? Katoa slyly crept into the laundry room. I can't speak all of a sudden. Oh right, we're getting all the fan service, it seems. To her chagrin, the captain and the doctor are already there, both with disappointed expressions. Oh, hey guys, what brings you here?
This is all your fault.
Okay, Sarah's just going straight for the B word, it would appear. You bit. Erica stretched out an arm in warning.
What the hell?
Yeah, I was going to change this one to yeah, I saw the security video, we know what you did. Oops. It was just supposed to be a prank, you know. It wasn't supposed to be all that mushy. I just wanted to cover you guys in a dry flour, you know, like in those older prank videos.